Tuesday Night Live with Riz and the Dog as the virtual winter meetings kick off. Diamond Diehards is on. Joe Rizzo here bringing you baseball along with Jeff the Dog Healy. How are you on this fine day? It is the 8th of December in 2020. We have cleared through a whole baseball season of 60 games. We have gone through a newfangled playoff system. We have started free agency, and now we are into the winter meetings. People are not gathering as COVID once again has its numbers exploding throughout North America and the world, but they are doing it virtually, and we are following along everything from that realm that is happening. So we will get you the particulars here. My name is Joe Rizzo, as you probably heard from the beginning. Jeff the Dog Healy is with me. You could follow us on. Here's all the follows. Guess what I did today? I wrote it down. Even though I've done it, I don't know, almost 50 times we're up to, believe it or not, Dog. So Facebook.com, we are glad if you are joining us there on the Facebook page, or even if you're finding the link from the Facebook group and you're onto the Facebook page, Facebook.com/Diamond Diehards, at Diamond Diehards on Twitter and Instagram, plus Twitch TV. We are Diamond Diehards there. And the YouTube, you got to just search for Diamond Diehards on YouTube and you'll find us there. We do stream live on there, and we're getting a little better at putting up the shows there as well. They could probably use a little edit here and there to take off some of the trim from the beginning, but we didn't go for the countdown timer this time. We said we were going to start at 7 Eastern. We went a little bit late because Dog and I were doing a little prep work, and I had my mute button on, and thankfully somehow Dog figured that out, the manual one. So I'm taking the bullet there for making us late. We want you to do all those follows, like we said. We also want you to do what's called pulling an Uncle Paul. That's when you've caught some of the live stream on the video, but you're in and out, or you're not paying that much attention. You want to go back and download the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you find your audio or even your video podcasts for that matter. If you follow Joe Rogan over to Spotify, then add Diamond Diehards over there. If you follow Bill Simmons over there, add Diamond Diehards over there on Spotify. They're doing a great job. I've had to do it. I'm a Rogan follower for a long time, and I had to do that. And I was pretty impressed with their app, so you could check us out on Spotify. We do want to tell you that in addition to myself and the dog, who you can follow, by the way, at Jeff Healy 8, that's the number 8, and you can follow me, Joe Rizzo, at Rear Naked Choke. But we much prefer you follow at Diamond Diehards on Twitter. We do have a producer tonight, and it is Dominic Rizzo, who is stepping up to help the cause, and he is also the one who electronically built the theme that starts the beginning of the show, the one that ends the show, and that's the charge. And he also, we throw the charge in the middle of the show sometimes as well. So Dominic doing his usual duties as our purveyor of that, and he's also off screen just a few feet to the side of me. We also want to remind you that Diamond Diehards today is brought to you by FMS Graphics, and it's the perfect time to order your holiday cards. Did you do it? I don't know. It's not too late. Why not take a few minutes to visit them at fmsgraphics.com. Ordering is easy, and you'll receive your order in a few days. fmsgraphics.com is the place to visit for all of your printing and promotional product needs. And if you're not catching this during the holiday season, you can visit them anyway, because it's not just a holiday thing. It's just that in the crunch, FMS Graphics will help you out. As we do each and every time, unless we forget, we kick off the meat and bones part of the show with our veteran of the day, and we bring in our own beloved veteran, our co-host, Jeff the Dog Healy.
All right. Thanks, Riz. Thanks for getting us going here. Also, Riz was trying to make me look good, so that took a little while to warm up to the show, too. So, it's tough. This is the best you got. For our veteran of the day, a very meaningful one. Once again, on this one, been in the news obviously today. This one Riz actually came up with, so a great one for this. Brigadier General Chuck Yeager is our veteran of the day. General Yeager was the epitome of American dominance in the air, most famously remembered in the book and movie The Right Stuff. Then Air Force Captain Chuck Yeager was the first person to break the sound barrier October 14th, 1947, in his X-1 rocket-powered aircraft named the Glamorous Glennis, after his wife. General Yeager, during World War II in the U.S. Army Air Corps, shot down 5 planes in one day, so an ace in a single day, shooting down 13 overall. He also flew in 150 different aircraft as a test pilot and logged over 10,000 flight hours. I would say author Thomas Wolfe, who wrote The Right Stuff, probably put it the best. He said he was the most righteous of all the possessors of the right stuff. So Brigadier General Chuck Yeager, Diamond Diehards veteran of the day.
Right, and just passed at age 97, which you'd think, boy, for somebody in that business, Dawg, that's what I was thinking. I'm like,
Unbelievable.
there's so many, literally like every time you get into the aircraft, and I say aircraft, I didn't just say plane, it said aircraft. Every time you're in an aircraft, I mean, literally, you're taking your life in your hands, right?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
to
he's
make it,
basically trying to break it.
yeah, yeah,
So
and
every time.
to do that and to get through the hazardous stuff and in the air and then getting back to the ground and then uh, to get to
Almost to the edge of
97.
space, I would say. I think he flew the X-15 and was up close to the edge of space at one point. Not quite there. Could have been an astronaut. Chose to stay with the Air Force.
Yeah. All right. So Dawg
Yeah.
kicks us off. We're cooking with gas, and geez, there's we're at this point, right? We're at the virtual winter meetings, and we've seen some stuff happen, like Rizzo Iglesias goes from the Reds to the Angels for Noe Ramirez and future considerations. You know, the Angels need any guys that can pitch, so that helps. The Rangers traded Lance Lynn. I mean, it's a big domino to
That's
fall.
a good
He's
sized one.
he's
Yeah.
been really good for the past couple of years, and he goes there for Avery Weems. There's not other too much to happen. Carlos Santana.
Santana, that signing was surprising for me.
Yeah, well,
Both the tenure and the Royals doing it.
well, I
That
mean, so he
was
gets he,
interesting.
he gets 2 years to go from his longtime home in Cleveland to the Royals. And listen, what do the Royals have to lose for that? They probably got him. It's a short-term deal. He had in the truncated season, he hit 199, 8 homers, and 30 ribbies. So his power and production numbers were not terrible. The batting average numbers, it's like, I don't know, Dog. Like, do you just at this point can you just throw the batting average numbers out the window for a lot of these guys? Like,
I don't know. Not when I'm paying $17.5 million over 2 years.
well, again, but
I ain't throwing out the 199. No.
it's over 2 years, right? It's
Yeah.
not per year. So I mean,
Especially and the Royals. I mean, traditionally sort of like a little bit more of the small ball kind of guy than than you just sit back and blast it sort of team. So that's me. It just seemed the fact it was the Royals just to me seemed very very surprising. Like not too shocked. I mean, I was a little more than I thought he would get. Not too shocked at the 2 years and the amount, but the fact it was actually coming from the Royals. I guess he like rakes against them as well. So I guess that's sort of part of it, right? When someone always hits the heck out of it against you, you're like, geez, this guy's great.
yeah,
And
this
the
guy
rest
must be awesome, and then
kind
you
of
get
sucks
him.
against everybody else. Oh, I didn't realize
Now the
that.
Angels are trying to get every Iglesias, right? Because they also just got Jose Iglesias the other day for Garrett Stallings and Gene Pinto who are minor leaguers. I mean, that means the end of Andrelton Simmons, right? He's not going to
Mhm.
go back there probably. I think since the last time we were on, The Mike Minor deal had happened, but I don't know if it might have been happening as we were on, so I don't think we
Yeah, I don't
talked
think we have the
about it.
details on like
Yeah,
years and money, but
yeah, and then
that was a good move.
right after that was the Trevor May signing with the Mets, which I know you were very high on because you're like, wow, the Mets signed like anybody, and I just want to be totally psyched about it.
This guy's huge. It's a
Literally.
tight end. They signed a tight end.
Yeah, they signed the tight end. They signed the tight end. So what we haven't had yet is we haven't had any of the big dominoes to fall. So Francisco Lindor has not been traded yet. Real Muto, Trevor Bauer, George Springer, and even like if you wanted to put Marcus Simeon in that group, he would be in that group. If it was last year, but if you're giving him a little bit of the mulligan year, you could kind of include him in there since he plays middle infield position and if Realmuto's a catcher and you're talking about up the middle guys and you project Springer as a center fielder, he kind of fits with that mix. I mean, boy, if you were weak up the middle, like really weak, and you had some money, you could sign those three, and that would make your team a lot better really quick.
What does that sound like?
Do you know any teams like that,
Oh,
Dog?
I don't know. Do we have the
Okay,
resources?
so that's obviously us talking about the Mets, and it's well, I think
Sandy's
Uncle
disciplined.
Uncle Paul told us, with he shares many articles on Uncle Paul's Sports Zone and some of them on the Diamond Diehards page, but and he was mad at us for not answering his stuff. I'm like, I do answer Uncle Paul. It might not be timely, but I answer. And Dog
It's tough
answers
to be
sometimes.
honest. It's tough to keep up.
I know, but he's good. He's a good information source. He's
It is
like
a good source.
he's like a news consolidator that's not a bot. He's like an actual person that like sees it. But his one of the things he posted was that Buster Olney is this close, and I'm doing the this close symbol with my right thumb and my right index finger for the live viewers could see that. His Buster Olney is this close to saying that the Mets will sign George Springer. So my question to you then,
Betting the
Doug,
farm.
yeah,
Hmm.
betting the farm, right? That's what it was. And my question to you, Dog, was, does Buster only have a farm? I didn't know that.
He apparently does have a farm. Actually, I had to look it up there. His family owns a farm in Vermont.
Okay, so Buster
There you
only
go.
had a farm,
He's got a farm.
E-I-E-I-O.
Exactly.
Buster
Who
only
I
has.
would not have guessed that.
I'm trying to do a Buster only joke, and you keep stepping on me.
And that's what I did.
Buster only has a farm, E-I-E-I-O. He dots the I's and crosses the T's, and George Springer gets rich. And I didn't say it was going to rhyme well. But I had
Maybe you
something.
start stepping on you again.
I had something better. Yeah, step something funny, Dog. Um, okay, so it's just that Sandy
I mean,
Alderson.
that's the number one. I would say. I mean, the number one need is catcher. The number one lesser risk, in my opinion, we've talked this before, right? Is to me is Springer. Um, Little wrinkle, no DH, and I think the DH trying to decide that in the National League. I'm guessing that might have slowed some people up as well, right? Because that does sort of change some of your calculus, particularly for teams that were planning on doing that, and all of a sudden, like say for example, you're in the Mets, right? Now you have to sit Brandon Nimmo, or you got to bite the bullet and sit Dom, which seems unlikely. So, um, so now you can. Now does that sort of change your calculus? Does you say, if I'm Sandy Alderson, do I say, hey, I might need Springer even more because I got to play Dom Smith because he was in the heck out of the ball. So I need someone who can really go get it in center field to help cover for him. Or do you say, you know what, I really love Nimmo. It gets on all the time. And you know what, maybe we're going to put them both out there. And then maybe I don't need George Springer as much. I don't think that's the case. Right. So I still think Springer gives you far more value, but that's something that some teams could be considering, whether or not if all of a sudden they may have more of a need than they originally thought.
Well, here's the thing, though. Um, he's been a good, an above average defensive center fielder, but we can't expect that really to be much more the case, going forward in terms of like the length and for term on this contract, can we? So
I mean, I think
where,
3 years,
yeah,
right?
but even so, like
33, 34. I mean,
your
that's
point about having Dominic Smith in left field, who's an asset that you already have, you already control him. He's, your possibly your best hitter He's no
Sure, it
worse.
certainly was.
He's no worse than your third best, right?
Hmm.
He's going to play against righties and lefties. He doesn't appear to be a guy that you're going to have to worry about down the line as a platoon guy if he keeps up, what he's stacked up nicely in his last couple of years here. So, do you make more of a commitment to a guy like Springer, who's you're getting the best defense from Springer right now as a center fielder, and it's compared to the other guys that you'd put out there, but it's definitely on the decline, right? Especially from here on in, as he hits his age 31 season, his defense is. You have to figure it's going to decline. The thing is, for every bit that it declines, it makes Smith. You have to hope either Smith improves in left or that you could just keep getting away with it, because at some point, it becomes a bigger issue, right?
Or you eventually get the DH.
Or
Right.
you right. Well, that's the
Which
other.
feels like maybe that's just the next player agreement to me. I
Okay,
mean,
so
I
that's
was a little bit surprised actually that the NL didn't just keep it going
so that's
this year.
2022 then, right?
Yeah. So
So yeah, I think that when the Alex Anthopoulos of the world are saying, yeah, we always kind of expected that we were going to go into 2021 playing with the same rules that we played in 2020. That kind of makes sense, right? It's just that there were a lot of things that opened people's eyes, including our own, that were good. That we thought there was really a chance that a lot of these changes could be brought in at least for another term, maybe, even if it was a year. But it looks like that's not going to be the case, right?
yeah, looks like that's the indication MLB put out to the owners. I assume they're going to vote on at the meetings here
Yeah,
and make that official. But basically setting the stage that hey, don't count on it.
yeah. So that does change teams. But what the Braves did, they went out and they grabbed a couple of guys, on 1-year deals, most notably Charlie Morton, and I love that deal. To me,
That
that
was a good
deal
move.
that deal looks even better now. I
Yep.
mean, you're in on him for a year. If he's any good and you want to keep rewarding him after that, if you have a World Series ring, you can pretty much do what you want at that point. But it is interesting. I just wonder if the no DH being there makes the Mets just a little more gun shy on Springer, and just like maybe that's the reason why we haven't seen it happen yet. Like I just feel like are they trying? I don't think they're
Yeah.
nickel and diming him. Like that doesn't seem to make sense. It seems like they just maybe wanted to make sure that this is actually the right decision to bring in a 31-year-old center fielder and have him play next to your your hopefully improving defensive left fielder,
A
right?
four.
Yeah.
a, fo- a forward, a big E. Yeah, I mean, I it's funny. I was watching another show. They actually were talking like the sort of like the bigger name free agents these days. They've tended to sign later and later. Like I think 2 years ago it was kind of like January 20 or so was kind of like the average when they did it. Last year I think it was sort of January 6 or so. Um, I did my conspiracy theory last time of, if it's got COVID, like I'd kind of hurry up. If I'm a free agent, I
I
don't want
know.
to get cute on a month, but so maybe I push to somebody, probably not though. Um, so it's, a lot of times they kind of try and set the stage and get the discussions at the owners meeting, and it kind of takes a while to kind of get it through and push it through there. I think everyone wants to wait to see on setting a level two, especially if you're the Mets, right? I mean, if you're the Mets and you want to do a couple multiple guys, do you want to go? Do you want to just plunk, 5 125 for Springer right out? And now, Riamoto's like, oh, geez, they paid that for that guy, and they don't even have a catcher. Right? You get Tomas Nido right now. Like, how much are they going to pay for me? It's me or
Yeah.
McCann. McCann signs. All of a sudden, if I'm Riamoto, I'm like, oh, I'm taking 30 million. What are you gonna do, Metsies? You just sign this guy Springer, and you're gonna put Tomas Nido catching your guys, and same like Bauer, right? I mean, that's not a big buck. So it's like you're somewhat kind of competing against yourself as well. Um, at some point you gotta strike and get it done. And it's like team philosophy too, right? Like the Braves are quick on it. White Sox tend to be sort of quick on it. Mets historically haven't been. We'll see. At least not in recent times. I mean, they used to be back in like Pedro and stuff like that. I mean, I guess that's the sort of counter argument on there. Maybe is that if you're trying to show there's a new sheriff in town, hurry up and get it done. Um, so I don't know. So maybe it argues maybe Bauer is sort of the first one you try and wrap in, right?
He's my guy. I mean
Yeah, I
that's
mean, so like if you're not competing against like other pitchers, like you're not going to take Oda Rizzo's like walking you around on that one. Versus if you tried to do Springer Real Muto or Springer McCann, that might be a little tougher one for him. But if you just sign Bauer for a ton, you're like, look, he's a Cy Young dude, right? So he's a separate category than these other guys. But yeah, once Real Muto or Springer signed, that sort of sets the stage for the other guy, in my opinion.
it,
And
it,
they're both there's not that many options, right? You kind of have Springer, Bradley, I guess. I mean, huge drop off there. We've talked before, Real Muto and McCann. You know, it depends. Different people have different views. I kind of swung around to your view that I think McCann's actually a little closer than people are kind of giving credit for, and it's probably better value. But then after that,
well, you can't.
again,
You got to really say appears to be a better value because until it's signed, right? Like you
yep,
don't know what a better value is on these guys. Like if McCann gets signed for too much, he doesn't really make himself a better value. But
yep,
it definitely appears that whichever of Real Muto and McCann signs first, they're really going to be helping out the other guy, right? Because let's
yeah,
face it, like what are the fallback positions? Like I was just trying to calculate all this in my head.
Ramos.
No, I mean just in general, like let's look at like all the catchers, right, that are out there, and there's basically three. It's
Yeah,
McCann, Realmuto, and Yadier Molina. So everybody's thinking of, first things first. Do we really need a catcher? And then we're just going to assume on the chart that it's yes, right? Do you need a catcher? Yes. How much are we going to pay for a catcher? We're going to pay X amount. How many years are we going to put into the catcher? We're going to put X amount, and those are maximums, right? So these teams now you need more than are there three team are there more than three teams doing this? I'd have to say yes,
oh yeah,
right? So so the first plan is going to be that if you can get Real Muto to sign for the dollars and the years for which you want him to sign, then he's going to be your top choice, right? And then if he's off the board, or if he doesn't fit your criteria, then you're going after McCann for something within the whatever you've set as the McCann realm. And then if he's off the board or he doesn't fit into those criteria, then you're going after Yadier Molina, and then you're deciding, basically for a guy like that, if you tell Yadier Molina that you're going to give him a 3-year deal, you could pay him practically anything and he's going to sign it because he's an older catcher, right? And if he got that money
it's a little scary,
guaranteed.
but okay.
Well, I'm just saying it might be a way to get
You
him,
may have
right?
to. Yeah, you
You
may
may
have to.
have to, right? Like he
Yeah,
he might say, well, I'll just keep signing 1-year deals with the Cardinals as long as they want me back, or he might opt for the change of scenery. You don't know, but if you're giving him 3 years, like let's be frank. I mean, he's going right. I mean,
yeah,
even if you give him two at X amount of dollars, he might go. So so now all the catchers that you really want or care about are off the board, and you're team number four, right? Where do you go? I mean, you have like nowhere to go. You're hoping to piece guys together. You're maybe you're calling the Yankees about Gary Sanchez or somebody.
yeah.
Kyle
Trade is probably
Higashioka.
your next best option at
Yeah,
that point.
it becomes
Yeah.
an option, and then
I mean, maybe Ramos, and I'm sort of somewhat half-candidly saying it, but I mean, he can hit okay. His defense is disappointing.
right. But if you
He's
have
out there. I mean, if you're number four, and that's it's Gary Sanchez or Ramos,
right, Ramos might be maybe
yeah, it
Ramos is number
might be
four.
the better move.
He might be
Yeah,
number four. So,
scary.
but you could see where the drop off is, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
big.
if you have another guy that's going to catch 100 something games, and then Ramos is your second guy, that's not so bad. But if you want to have somebody who's going to be that 100 game or 120 game guy for you behind the plate, I mean, basically you have those first three options, and that's it. So that being the small market in terms of like the number of players that are quality to fill, like any one of those guys that makes the first move really just sets it off, right?
Yep.
The other one really is the starting pitching, where you've seen some of these guys go off the board, but Bauer's the only one that really is like anything worth like a big multi-year deal that you're sitting there mulling over like, okay, you know, like you're thinking a minimum of 4 years with that guy, right? Like there
Oh
these
yeah.
other guys like, Mike Miner and uh, Charlie Morton, like, you were never thinking that for those guys, and this guy you are. Like that's just getting you into the conversation. So what happens there? I mean, then you go to Springer in center, and you're like, okay, well, if you're the Mets, right? Posit this for a second. Now, I talked you more toward, a little off of the Real Muto and more into the McCann. I think you still want Real Muto, but at least I feel like
Yeah.
you saw the light. Now, I'm going to give you your sort of your own point, and I'm gonna talk to you about Jackie Bradley because he's a top defensive center fielder, and he's really
Mm.
gonna make up for anything that you have as a liability in left. And Conforto's not, he's not like a Gold
He's all right.
Glove guy in
He's
right,
pretty
but he's solid. He's probably above average, and he's
right.
not going to drop off anytime soon. But definitely to help cover up what you have in left, if you have Bradley in center, and again, now you just need to say, well, when Dominic Smith is playing left, Bradley's playing center, because you also want Bradley to bat toward the bottom of the order. He's can he be your eighth place hitter? Well, if you make the
Yeah.
trade for Francisco Lindor, then yeah, like definitely you could go that way. So maybe
Or LeMahieu.
or LeMahieu.
LeMahieu at third,
But again, I like you're
yeah.
talking about then.
And Bradley in center. Right.
Right, and and
That's the
then
fallback.
yeah, but then you're talking about like then what are you doing with JD Davis? Like you're making him into a platoon, like or you're using him to get you something
Honestly,
else, like
I probably trade for prospects with JD Davis. The Mets need to restock something. They need to start getting some mid to higher level minor league talent. It just we get too many. The Mets have too many guys sort of who really can't play at third base and left field, kind of both sitting there. I mean, Davis, I thought he at least got off to a better start last year, but his defensive numbers were still pretty rough. Um, and the Mets have finally acknowledged they need to improve the defense. So I think since they have enough thumpers, JD Davis is great when they couldn't hit enough. Like now it's like, especially if you're going to play Dom and left, like you're kind of playing in on the whole hitting aspect. You need to start making up for it with defense around it. So put a better guy in front of him at third base, and like I said to your plan, put a better guy next to him in center field, and that helps reduce that risk significantly.
But a guy like LeMahieu has never been a regular third baseman. He's been a Gold Glover at second. He did not play Gold Glove caliber second base from, I basically watched every Yankee game last year, and I was like, oh, I feel like in terms of the eye test, he's slipping a bit. I mean, and they're moving him over to first, and I thought he was their worst defensive first baseman. Like I was like, why are we moving him over there for defense? Like he does not look good or comfortable at first. Now, I actually thought when he did
I
play
mean, you
third,
could
he
say
looked good.
honestly, to me, it's like a beauty pageant of like McNeil and LeMahieu. Whoever plays second better goes there, and the other guy goes to
Oh
third.
yeah, well, that's a good point too. You
So
could, yeah, you could do that. You could do that. And I feel like McNeil's pretty capable at either spot, but is that going to be the answer? I mean, offensively, LeMahieu let's just say in the infield somewhere, right? And McNeil and Alonso, and then Smith and left, whoever in center, and Conforto in right. Then you have to start reevaluating and saying like, okay, so how much do we need the center fielder? Like, do we really need Springer, or maybe we do need Real Muto a little more, or McCann a little more? And I don't know.
or Molina for 2 years, and you hope the Mets have a good young catching prospect. You hope that maybe in 2 or 3 years he can move up enough, and when Molina hangs it up, he might be the guy kind of going forward.
Yeah, or you just, I
Versus
mean,
3 more years of Realmuto kind of on the tail end. So I don't know. Lots of different irons in the fire right now.
yeah, and now, so you don't think that the Mets LeMahieu thing is
I don't
just
think that's particularly serious. Yeah,
you don't think that's just a
he's
taunt?
so much better at the Yankees that it's hard to imagine. It's honestly hard to imagine. I mean, the only thing I can think of on that is, Springer goes, Realmuto goes, and McCann's asking for a fortune. then maybe you say, hey, you know what? Let's put LeMay over here. We're improving our D. We got enough there, and we go with Bradley or we go with whoever in center. And we're just shifting around where we're getting our offense. We're improving our defense as well, and that's close enough. And we're tying up some bucks, but we're tying up bucks with the guy who's in the MVP, you know, running the last couple of years. So that's not the worst spot. Again, I don't see the Yankees letting him go, and I don't see the Mets going that crazy on number wise because frankly, like I like McNeil at second. Like they're sort of heading in the right sort of direction on there. It's like, um,
Don't screw it up.
yeah, exactly. Like like you feel like you can find a real third baseman and like just have it sit there versus like, oh, well, we'll take this guy to second base and throw him back to third. I mean, you're kind of going out of your way to sort of make that fit. Or like at McNeil, yeah, you just play third, even though you like haven't barely played it in the last couple of years. Um, you know, don't yeah, don't get cute on it. By the way, I mean Robbie can yeah, and oh by the way, you have Robbie Cano come back next year. That you theoretically have to do something with this dude. So.
I forgot about that for a second.
Yeah, right. So it's like, oh, by the way, you have a $24 million second baseman coming back too. So how many second basemen you want on this team? And like LeMahieu's value, right? I mean, his best value is being a at least decent to maybe above average second baseman who hits the holy hell out of the ball, right? So if you move him to third, he's an average third baseman who still hits very well, but like that's sort of like a spot where you should be able to get other guys who can hit. Like like forcing him in, like that's sort of the thing. You have to look like if I'm taking JD Davis out to put in LeMahieu, obviously a nice bump up. They're right, but I mean, is it worth $16 million a year bump up? I don't know. That's a little tough. Like I guess you look at that for like Nimmo and Springer, right? If I have to sit Nimmo now, right? So he's one of the best He's one of the best on base guys that the Mets have. He's an average sort of third. He's an above average, I would say, left fielder. He's a below average, way below average center fielder. If he's got to sit down now, it's not only the value that Springer's adding, but then you got to take away the guy he's replacing. It's like that to me. Like again, like if you get Springer, to me, you almost trade Nimmo, right, and use Nimmo to get like a 4 or get some prospects or something like that, because just him as a fourth outfielder, and a pinch hitter and stuff, that's a nice to have, but I'm not sure that's maximizing value there.
Well, you know what? I made the mistake of starting to look at some of the comments, and what I noticed
Is
was
Uncle Paul killing me right now?
no. Uncle Paul was saying that like it doesn't look that we're top and bottom, and it doesn't look good. He likes side to side more, so I had to make like an in-game adjustment here. So hopefully this pleases Uncle Paul, because that's basically our the whole purpose of this show is just to make sure that Uncle
There we
Paul's
go.
happy. It took me a little bit. I had to mess around with stuff, and once again, got to give props to Jerry Milani, who taught me how to do all this stuff. And in this case, I'm doing it on the fly. So yeah, thanks, Jer, for helping us there. So, Dawg, if it seemed like I was not paying attention there for the last few seconds, I at least got the point. So in the quiz,
I've argued every possible lineup for the Mets already.
I know. Here's the thing, though.
Anyone else playing baseball this year?
I don't like it's the like we're ready to talk about these other like you want to talk about the Angels, like do the Angels have any possible way to finally give Mike Trout something, like anything, like or just no, like they got the
No.
two Iglesias.
It feels like no. I mean, that's the problem when the guy signed. I was like, you know what? He's just one of those guys, right? It's like Milot. It's like just stuck out. He's a great player on a team that no, you're never gonna get to see this guy in a championship. Um, I don't know. It just never seems like they're gonna put together enough around him to get it when they need to go. So the answer is no, in my opinion.
I don't know, but so why aren't they the so? Let's go back to like our regular season ending show where we were
Okay.
talking about we talked about destinations for Springer and Bauer. I think we actually named the show something like that episode. And we both agreed that, in the end, if we were betting, we thought that Springer would end up with the Mets, and that seems to be, following. Although I'm giving you reasons why maybe if you're the Mets, you consider otherwise. But when I guessed on Bauer, I named two teams, and I said the Astros and the Angels. And not that I've heard anything to the effect of these guys might go there, but I mean, who needs him more than the Angels? I don't know, is there
100%.
any team that needs him more than the
Big,
Anaheim Angels or the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim or whatever the hell they are?
great fit. Great fit out there, right? I mean, Hollywood, he's all about the media presence and whatnot. Huge market there. Um, that does makes a ton of sense if they can pony up the bucks to do it.
So if you do that, right, he becomes your clear number one.
Yep.
Do they do anything to try to like stock the farm system? I mean, they look they made a couple of deals that I don't hate. I mean, Rizzo Iglesias is not bad. Jose Iglesias is not bad. I mean, that they can let Andrelton Simmons walk, which I guess he was going to do anyway. I'd probably would rather have him than Jose Iglesias, but okay, either way, both guys are defense first, and every now and then they contribute something with their stick. They're kind of like, similar players. Iglesias is a little better hitter. Simmons is a better fielder. Okay, either way, not that much difference there. So how many other holes do they have to fill? Like they don't really have offensive holes to fill so much as they just have like bad luck with their pitching staff. Like it just seems like anytime there's somebody who's coming up that they get hurt or they don't perform or they're overshadowed by the Dodgers. Like it's just a strange existence. And Dog, like we saw back in the early 2000s, the Angels have this rise, and they did they were the first ones to do the Thunder Sticks, right? And they had the
Yep.
Rally Monkey and all this stuff, and they were like a really fun team until they beat the Yankees. Then that was not so much fun. I didn't think they were that much fun after that. I can tell you
No,
that.
no, no.
Like,
No, no, no.
fuck the Angels, just fuck them. And it looked like they were going to go on this nice run. They
Yeah.
had, they had a lot of good players, and I mean, like, do we just go back to the day that they signed Albert Pujols and say, look, this type of move can take a big market because they are a big market franchise, even as
Yep.
the second one in the market. That Arte Moreno, deep pockets, right? Um, that you make one move like that, and if it's the wrong move, it just it's not that you don't have the money to pay these other players, but you just can't get out from under a contract like that to make the moves that you need to make when you need to make them. Is that it? Are they still in the Pujols malaise?
That's a good point. I mean, I think, well, again, I think the lack of pitching really is the problem with that. So if you want to say that the pool holes is sucking up the money that they should be going to the rotation, then then I guess that's it. I mean, the nice thing about a big market team, right, is you can make one of those, right? In my sort of opinion, right? You can sit there and like if you miss on that, and that's what makes a big market team, right? A small market team misses on one of those, and you are doomed. You're doomed for 5 years. It's just there's no other way to get out. Big market teams can sit there and carry some more of it. Like I'm just sitting there looking at like the Rays again, right? So the Rays are sitting there like looking around like a payroll of like 70 million or so. I'm like, and I'm trying to figure out how the Mets are going to be able to fit in like Springer and Bauer and like somebody else to be like 170 and luxury tax. And I'm like, how the hell are the Rays in here like 70 million, like still chugging away? It's like you would think that they're like, yeah, I'll take all four of them, right? And then I could do that and still be under the luxury tax. It's like, how the heck did these guys manage to find that? I mean, it was interesting when you started talking about to the end of the season, right? That was sort of another thing was like, is has baseball changed? Right? And sort of like like we were talking like the Belichick, right? Maybe we'll call it the Joe Judge mode now. That finding what guys can do and just maximize their value using that and using them for that 3 innings and then boom, off you go and moving to the next guy and like sort of like the Rays mode on that. And it seems like sort of it's interesting that I can't tell yet in this postseason whether the teams are starting to embrace it. I mean, some of the smaller pieces you're getting, you would sort of argue are that, but that's generally the case, right? You see, like, oh, one team got rid of this guy. We liked him a couple years ago. We'll give him another shot. I mean, you can't really say yet that that's going to be, the move towards significantly different use of the pitching staff, et cetera, et cetera. But that to me does intrigue me. That it feels like, especially for smaller market teams, that that's like the way of the future, right? So I mean, you have the gourmet section crew, right, of the 6 to 8 teams who can do whatever, and they can just keep living whichever way they're going to go. Um, and maybe the Angels need to decide, you know what? If Pujols is sucking up that money, we have to act a little bit more small team. You got the Pujols and the Trout, and then the rest of your team has to be the Rays, right? Or you just can't make the money work. And have they adapted to that yet? It seems like so far the answer is no.
Definitely not. But
Yeah.
right, like you have, it's not just that you have Pujols, it's that you have Trout. And then, they signed Rendon. Like, so why are you signing Rendon when you really need pitchers? Well, there's no pitchers out there. Okay, well, so might as well just sign Rendon since he's there. At some point, right? You got to just either not spend the money on that hitter if he's there, or keep saying, you know what, we don't care. We have a $40 million player, we have a $30 million player. We're going to get another $30 million player, and he's going to pitch, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and then
And the rest of your team is the Rays.
and then the rest of your team is like really, really the Rays. It's like
Yeah,
not
it's
even the
like
Rays.
Rays without talent.
It's like the Pirate Rays, which
the
is
Rays AAA.
it's the Pirate Rays. Those are the guys that the Rays traded to the Pirates to get the guys the Rays have that got them to the World Series. That's what it is. Like there's always like five guys on the Rays that used to be on the Pirates. We're like, the Pirates are like, I don't know, this guy's supposed to be good. We can't figure him out. Garrett Cole, get rid of him. He's never going to be any good. Trade him to the Astros.
We
What?
trade them long enough.
What's the spin rate? I mean, that's like what the Pirates have been up to, right? I mean, they're like they get Chris Archer, from the Rays when everybody knew that was like, boy, what are you guys doing? Like you're hoping to catch lightning in a bottle here? Like that's as why are you taking that guy? That's like the last guy that you guys let a big market team take a chance on what he might give them. But no, they stepped right in. Go back and look at the history of Pirates Rays deals from the last few years. I mean, there's a few in there that
I mean, it's
and
funny. The Pirates kind of used to be like the Marlins. I mean, I wasn't saying necessarily the Rays and stuff, but sort of like good young talent you couldn't keep around and would kind of go out. And now it's like they don't even particularly have like the good young talent anymore. It's just sort of like
yeah,
they've
they
traded
didn't.
enough of that to try and get like to move it up and be more competitive, and they just now they don't have either.
Right. Yeah, they
So
sort of flopped it. I don't know. They need to catch up with what some of these other teams are doing, right? The Astros kind of changed it, not with the, banging the garbage can stuff, but with the, the analytics stuff, and like meaning the spin rate and all that, and getting pitchers who looked like they'd have strikeout kind of stuff where they weren't even striking out a guy per inning, or 9 per 9 innings, and all of a sudden these guys are striking out 11.72 guys per 9 innings, and you're like, whoa, this guy's like unhittable. What were the Pirates doing? Pirates were telling him to pitch to contact.
we need to go longer in the game.
Yeah, pitch to
We're
contact.
not paying you this much to go 6.
Yeah, pitch to contact. Why? So, you can go longer, and our guys will catch the ball behind you. Yeah, but we don't have any guys that can catch the ball. There's some guys that can hit, but they can't really catch
So
the
you want me to go
ball.
out there and get hit more longer,
Yeah. Wait, but
not just skip.
so the more I get hit and the more runs I allow, the more innings you're gonna let me pitch. Is that how
Oh,
this thing works? Wait, hold on, no,
silly,
no, no, hold on. I
silly
can't.
me.
Hold on. I can't grasp this concept.
You write this one down.
I can't. It's a sneaker and a phone. How do I get that? So you have to be. Yeah,
Would you believe?
that was well. Our pal George Lovamores hopefully is still watching, and that's an old Sports Illustrated joke. That was you used to get like if you ordered Sports Illustrated, there was this commercial where they sent you a sneaker phone. They
Yeah.
would give you gifts for like subscribing. Um, Unlike us, we just let you subscribe for free. No gift. You just subscribe free. Video, audio, whatever you want. Totally free. Not like those criminals that are, offering you a gift to subscribe for money. Well, at least yet. So it was like one of the things was a sneaker phone. It was corded and it was a sneaker and you picked it up and it was a sneaker and a phone. And the guy on the other end of the line just couldn't cash in on that concept. He couldn't wait,
Wait.
it's a sneaker and a phone? How is that possible? Okay. By the way, I got yelled at after last show when I brought out the salmon jacket. Somebody very near and dear to me told me, "Man, you need a stylist." So I shaved yesterday. I combed my hair, which is now still really long, and I went with the white jacket instead.
It's looking pretty natty.
Yeah, and I
Gotta say.
got Bob's, my pal Bob's Rodriguez. He chimed in as well. What you said, I think, off air, which was the Miami Vice look. Um, yeah, that's listen.
You can see here, I didn't put a lot of effort in.
Show was a Miami Vice. I'm not gonna lie. Show was a big hit. Got remade. Made movies out of it. Yeah, it's probably not the worst idea. Maybe I should just pick the Marlins to win the World Series right now with Kim Ng. Richwood, New Jersey's own.
There you go.
Running
her on
the
the
show
show.
over there. Yeah.
Friend of the show.
Friend
Doesn't
of-
know it yet.
Yeah, soon to be friend of the show. Same as let's see if it'll work here. Same as let's see if it'll show up.
Cousin Anthony.
Cousin
There you go.
Anthony there.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There we go.
I got to put it like too close to get the virtual
Anthony
background. Yeah, you see that.
Cubby.
Cousin Anthony will be on.
Cubby.
We'll have to go back to a couple of our guests that
I think Uncle Paul is making a little noise that he sounds like he wants to get Alonso out of here. I don't know. I don't like this.
I don't like that either. But Uncle
So
Paul's in the comments.
Dom Smith can play first and left. Alonso can only play first. How about we play both?
Well, Uncle Paul says with no
We're
DH.
so used to guys hitting 50 home runs for the Mets, we might get rid of one.
He says with no DH, there's a problem at first. Dominic Smith can play first and left, where Alonso can only play first. What's the problem? One guy can play left, one guy can play first. That's not a problem. Both guys can hit.
Wait, we could have Dominic Smith and Alonso? I can't get that.
And you
We're
can
just getting silly now.
you can get them, and you can get them both sneaker phones, and
Yes.
and see how they fare with that. Okay, so
and the swimsuit edition.
yeah, and more on that later. Oh boy. So when does this? I mean, is every show that we do like, are we gonna have to just keep talking about the Mets over and over again, just like waiting for them to make a move? Like, okay, we talked about the Royals for like 8 seconds, but like, how much can you talk about Carlos Martinez? Like, you can't, right? Like, I mean,
Is Toronto for real?
no, I said that they're not.
They're talking up like mad. They're like, oh, this, all that. We're in
I
this,
said
we're in
Carlos
that.
Martinez. I meant Carlos Santana. Sorry. Like, no, the Blue Jays are not for real. Didn't we do that?
That's
Like,
a fine answer.
I mean, they're not for real. See, the Mets are for real because you have the owner, and he's committed, and he's been
You have money and need.
he's been forthright, right? The Blue Jays are not until they are. And I know I use that. That's like my joking that they're not until they are. But now I'm saying it seriously because
Yeah.
they don't have the history. They don't have the track record. They don't have the gumption. They're not going to be playing
Is he
games.
just trying to talk himself into a stadium? Is that his game?
Hold on. You know what? I think we got to talk about Dawg here. I think this is our transition where we talk about what 2021 is going to look like, not from a rule standpoint, but from a social standpoint. And the Jays are the place to start with this, right? Because literally today, December 8th, 2020, we saw the first citizen of a country, which was England, get the coronavirus vaccine. And the first male that got it, his name is William Shakespeare, by the way, an 81-year-old man in England. Yes, that's his name. Poetic justice, literally. And
Nice.
so with the U.S. being just a few days away from their approval, the expected approval, and you have Operation Warp Speed under the Trump administration, which got this thing going, and you have Biden coming out as the president-elect saying in the first 100 days they're going to vaccinate 100 million people, which they might have 100 million vaccinated before he even takes his oath. So, who knows what's going to happen? Like it's the army is involved here, so I feel like distribution probably is going to be pretty good,
That's what we do.
thanks to all our vets and all our current that are serving in all the armed forces. But what is 2021 going to look like if truly, how many days is 100 days after January 20th? If 100 million people are vaccinated in the first 100 days after January 20th, that puts us right at the start of baseball season, doesn't it? And
Yes,
if
it
it puts
does.
us at the start of baseball season and that many people have been vaccinated, the number of cases and everything would expect to just not quite vanish overnight, but probably something fairly close to that over the course of 100 days. The bottom is going to fall out of it, right? It's going
It's
to go
one
right down.
third. It's one third of the population, right? It's going to be one third of the most vulnerable,
Right.
right? And your healthcare workers, right? So you're not going to worry. At that point, you shouldn't see risks to first responders. You shouldn't see risks to your healthcare workers. You should see you shouldn't see risk for your, let's say, the 65 and up, most vulnerable out there. So now you're getting down to folks who are 30 and 40. Your people going taking their kids to the baseball game. All right, so where if you get it, there's a small chance that you could have a serious illness. There's a very very small chance something worse than that. Kids likely not that much. Would you take your kids to the game? All right, that's what it kind of comes down to. Right, would you take your kids to the game? Would you get on the subway? You might not take it on the subway. You might drive. Right, if you're in Lyon, you want to drive to City Field and go watch the Mets. That with our brand new lineup up. You might not go to McFadden's, but you might go to City Field and go sit there and start in the upper deck and just walk around. That can kind of stay somewhat spaced out or whatever. Maybe you reduce the tickets for first month or two. Maybe your 50% capacity, something like that, which would be
How about
frankly
this? You
like
go
kind of awesome, right?
you're going to
Like I'd pay more to sit there and go stroll around in City Field and all that. And
you going to watch Carlos Santana, your new toy if you're in Kansas City? Yeah, probably, right? Like
yeah,
you're inclined to do it,
yeah.
right? Whereas right now you're inclined to, just uh, bang on your walls and be like, "Why isn't this thing over?"
Yeah.
And scream
If
at your TV and your hypocritical
let's
politicians, right? I mean,
let's play this one a little bit for your MLB.
well, I want to. I don't.
If oh, go ahead,
I
go
don't
ahead.
want to. I don't want to get. I don't want to lose the main point on this, which is to
Okay.
Canada and Toronto,
Mhm.
right? Which is, if this all happens the way it is, do the Jays now project themselves as being allowed to play in Toronto? Because if they're allowed to play in Toronto in front of fans, that basically increases the chances that they are a player. If they're going to have to play in Buffalo or Orlando or some other city, and they're not going to be able to play in front of their own fans, they're not going to draw fans in a second home the way they would in their own home. They're not going to be able to get revenue the way they would in their own stadium. So if they're forced to play south of the Canadian border and in the states somewhere, they're not going out and signing free agents. These guys are going to go buy the boards, and unless they are 1 year deals or something like that, the Jays they'd be dumb to do it. Your core could wait
It's
another
tough.
year. Your
I think
core
it's
could
tough.
wait another year. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I think it's a tough one for Toronto because Trudeau has been very conservative in terms of confronting the virus and whatnot. Being and supportive of lockdowns and supportive of the travel bans, etc. So I think if you're the Blue Jays, I don't think you can count on being able to easily go back and forth across the border at the start of the season.
Right. So if they can't, that's why I make my statement that they are not players in this. That is a smoke. Are they Are they interested behind closed doors as baseball operations people? Yeah. They're
Yeah,
looking at this thing. They have to put it together and they have to say, okay, we like this guy, we like this guy, we like this guy, we like this guy. We'll pay him this, and this. But the finances are not going to meet it. They're not going to be able to play until they know that they can play in that beautiful dome that they have up there.
yeah,
They're not opening the checkbook, and they'd be stupid to. They're much better off putting their metrics into looking at what next offseason's free agents are and making the best out of what they have. Sign some extra minor league free agents, like 6-year minor league free agents. Bring in a couple of guys, that you don't really have to pay a lot, and bring in four of them. If one of them makes the roster, you did great, right? If
yeah.
one of them contributes, you did great. Like, employ that kind of strategy for 2021, and then maybe revenues and stuff get back to normal. Maybe you're playing in front of your home fans by the middle of the year or something like that, and then
Yeah.
okay. You know what? If you wanted to go big in on somebody, you could trade for somebody, because there'll be guys out there
Yeah.
and there will be teams that will be desperate to dump any of these salaries that are good players that are performing well. You'd be like, wait a minute, I don't really have to give you anything. I just have to basically take this guy and pay him. Yeah, I'll do it. That's a
Yep.
much better way. So when I say the Blue Jays are not players in this, that's why. Like, I mean, they could be, but they they'd be foolish if they
Yeah.
were.
How about now let's riddle me this. If you're if you're MLB and US is 100 million um, immunized, theoretically probably ramping up. So maybe it's probably like a 20 million, 30 million, 40 million or something like that, or whatever the numbers work on there. Um, likely hitting faster and faster, so doing more and more people each month as the channel gets more developed. Um, do you push opening day back to May 1st and work in some more double headers and work in some more ways to squish more games in, hoping that you get more you kind of cut the cold weather games, which kind of stink anyway, and then B, you go and hope that you get more games at full capacity versus trying to do it in the beginning of the season at half capacity.
Or do we
You know, if
get?
you're at 150 immunized versus 100, that might be enough of a difference where you say, you know what, now you guys can go to 75% instead of 25% or 50%. And and a month or two from then, you're going to be 50, 60% of the population covered, and pretty much whoever's wanted one has gotten one at that point. And after that, hey, you don't get immunized, you can go out and get it. Well, that's your fault. um, and you go back to 100%. So it doesn't make sense for Major League Baseball to let the vaccination plan play out a little bit, and then start slightly later, but try and get more fans in the seats.
I think you're also going to have the state to state issues where some states might let you go full bore, right? At the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, and other states might not let you go full bore for the entire season. Like
Is that fair?
California,
That's a great one.
like
If Texas is
California.
doing it, if it's Houston versus, I say Houston versus Toronto, right? Toronto, you can't even cross the border, and they're not going to put in anywhere because they're not getting as many of the vaccinations because they didn't pony up the checker right away. Versus Texas, which let's bring it in, baby, and we're ready to rock and roll. That team's going to have more money to spend, right? I mean, if you're MLB, can you have that sort of discrepancy between and I guess it's sort of weird, right? You'll probably have California and New York like lower, right? Maybe Texas is cranking, maybe Florida's cranking, who knows? Uh, the Braves, maybe stuff like that. Maybe they can count on actually having some more money than some of the big market coastal teams.
Yeah, possibly. And
Yeah.
look, your point about the double headers is not a light one, because that the players want to play 162. The players want to play 200 games, right? Because we found that out, like, negotiating in July, when everybody's like, "This is crazy. They could go be playing right now, and they're making a big deal out of money." And that was like all the headline stuff, and Blake Snell was allegedly, well, what looked like he was running off his mouth, but, like, let's face it, he was probably right. Uh, you know, he didn't have anybody complaining about, like, he had a lot of people on his side after he got pulled out of the game that he should still be pitching in right now in the
We
World
know.
Series. So, uh, from state to state, right? I mean, what do you think is going to happen in California? Like, do you think the
Who
Padres,
knows?
the Angels, the Dodgers, the Giants, and the A's? You have 5 teams there. You have a governor in California right now who's locking down the state, and on the same day he's getting caught going out to dinner, right? like in an indoor place. Like, I mean, you can't make this stuff up in
Yeah.
2020, right? So what do you think is going to happen? Like, he's gonna all of a sudden, like, not be a hypocrite and, like, just let everybody do what he's doing.
You would say no, right? I mean, look at Disneyland, right? I mean, Disney had a tremendous program they put in place down in Disney World, and to my knowledge, there hasn't been any spread of at least visitor to visitor within Disney World. I'm sure there's some cast members who got it or whatnot, but basically everyone's afraid Disney's going to open. It was going to be like a huge super spreader, right? It's going to be all over the place. They didn't because they had such controls. Everyone was wearing masks. They're policing and stuff. The visitors generally self-policing. That same person goes to Disneyland, right? I mean, in general, I mean, it's slightly different, but in general, the same thing. If all the Disney folks tell you to put your mask on, everyone in Disneyland's gonna put their mask on, right, and walk around Shield or whatever else they got to do. You would expect similar transmission rates, which has been extraordinarily low and really a non-issue down in Disney World. Yet he's kept Disneyland shut, and I don't know, probably 100,000 people out of job with that. So that would argue if he's not going to do it then, also he's going to trust all the baseball stadiums and everyone's tailgating and stuff like that. Probably not.
Right, and look at those people that are so reliant on games to happen as part of their jobs, right? 5 teams in California rely on people coming to the park, people, like that. We're just talking about, like, you could talk about just the in-stadium workers. What about the people who, collect parking money and who, tell cars where they have to go in a parking lot, and who have a restaurant that's outside or, in walking distance from the stadium, hotel workers, all these other people. Like, these people just went through an entire season where, for a lot of people, it's probably their first revenue. For some people, it's probably their second revenue, the thing that, helps them become whole. And, you probably have some kids that are working. I mean, there's a lot of economy that goes with that. And, how is that all handled? Again, where, like you said, maybe it makes sense to push it out to May 1st and we kick in our 7 inning doubleheader plan, right? Where we say, all
Love
right,
it.
right, I mean,
Yeah.
you get people there, you get them in the park. I mean, 7 inning double admission doubleheaders might be a little hard for people to stomach, but I think they'd probably rather have that than, you know, one
I
game.
can't I can't go in April.
Right, right. I can't go in
Yeah.
April, so I'll take a 7 inning game on June 8th.
Yeah.
Sure, why not? And you'll give me the second game for half price? Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Right? Do I have to walk out and come back in? Dude, you just went through 2020. You think people will care if they have to get up out of their seat, walk out of the stadium, and go back in? No, they won't care. They really won't care, right? If you
Yep.
even had to do that. So that would be another way that they could get full, admissions out of it. But you also have potentially, right, if they're going to let people in, then you have significantly less concern about the spread of it from player populations, right? Like, there might be, listen, if
I mean, they're getting knocked. They'll be immunized by April 1st, right?
oh,
let's
please,
let's be real.
please, dude,
Everybody in MLB is gonna have one by then.
please. I was watching the
But
feed
we're
of
gonna do a
the
study.
I was
The
watching
study is how do baseball players handle a vaccine?
I was watching the feed from the UK where the 90-year-old grandma got it, then the 81-year-old William Shakespeare got it, then like 5 Brooklyn Nets came in and got it. Come on, the whole NBA is probably immunized right now. After, so if you, I'm making light of how
We're somewhat making it up.
in the
We just don't
I,
know that,
I
but we
don't,
think that.
but no, in the beginning of COVID, like when the COVID tests were first coming out, magically somehow, like everybody's desperate for for tests. Hospitals are being overrun, and yet somehow like all the Brooklyn Nets got tested, like
Yeah.
and that's kind
Yeah,
of like my
Congress didn't have it,
that's
but
kind of like my team. That's kind of like my team. Like well, I was a New Jersey Net fan, but like, yeah, I'm the guy. But like, they're definitely lower on the totem pole. But I mean, you got to call it out where it is. Like these are the athletes going to be the first ones to get it? Probably not. But they're not going to be far off when the
they're gonna
main
be number two.
population. They're going to be up there. They're
Let's
going
be
to be
real.
up there, and like the football players, the basketball players, the baseball players. I mean, the hockey players will have to wait.
They didn't have any transmission.
The soccer,
They followed the
yeah,
rules.
yeah. The soccer players, well, the soccer
Stay at home, drink beer. Okay.
yeah, okay. Oh,
Okay.
okay, okay. The soccer players, well, the American soccer players will have to wait. The European soccer players were right behind the Brooklyn Nets getting their music.
What's your name? My name's William Shakespeare.
My
I
name,
thought so.
yeah, and
Haunted.
right after William Shakespeare and the Brooklyn Nets was Manchester United. Cristiano Ronaldo was right there. They were all there. Don't worry about it. Um, we kid. At least we think we do. But
We can't prove.
these are, these are big deals, right, Dog? I mean, these are big deals. Like
100%.
your plan potentially of moving it out to May 1st. Um,
And Fred, there it is. Give you the plan.
it,
Get it
it's
done.
but at
Makes a lot of
what
sense to me.
at what expense are they going to do it then, right? Like if they so is that then so
It's
add
probably
add up
it's
the
probably
double
like
headers.
18 games, right? It's probably 18 games. So April's normally a little bit less, right? 18, 20, something like that.
No, it's more. No, April's the full month. April's the full month.
Yeah, but yeah.
Because remember they're starting games in March. Here, let's see,
I
21.
mean, April 1st is the official one, but like you have you normally have an extra couple of day offs in April than you
Not
do
yeah, but
versus the
there's
normal.
not. Yes, you're right. But you're basically in the 30 days of April. The teams are probably playing, upwards of 25 games. They're not necessarily having
Right.
more than a day or two off. I mean, they don't necessarily have a day off every week. They probably, at most maybe
Okay.
some would have, like in that built into that first week, you probably have 2 days off. Like at least the teams that would be threatened by inclement weather.
So 20. So let's see. So if you have 25 games, let's just say it's 25 games to
Throw
make
it at
simple.
25, yeah.
So if it's 25, then we pretty much have to make up. It's probably what 25 weeks.
Yeah.
We probably need a doubleheader every week.
Yeah. And then,
Okay.
you have to deal with
Doubleheader Saturday.
you deal with postponements and cancellations on, as they come along, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to want to play like these 4-game series, but maybe now that's a thing of the past. I mean, if you're saying you get to play 7-inning doubleheaders and you can schedule them, like we thought this was going to be gone, Dog, our 7-inning doubleheader thing, because we liked it, and now maybe it's a means to an end
Manfred
here.
talked it down, but I do think there's a compelling argument, at least for this one more season. I think there's a compelling one that you say you start at May 1st and you do the scheduled doubleheaders on Saturdays or whatever day you want. I think Saturday day night, right? I think you would you get some interest for that.
You might not always be able to do that though.
I mean,
because
we liked it originally, so you do the travel, right? So that was an
Right.
easier sell to the players. The plus you'd say to the players is there's gonna be more fans in the stands, which kind of gets you amped up, and you got April off, right? And
It's
you're
not-
not that playing when it's crappy out and stuff like you should get better number, you should get better performance, better action on the field, I would argue, versus the first sort of 20 games where you're. I said half the time up here you're freezing and it's just it's just not as good a caliber of baseball, right? Versus like May, June later on.
I'm gonna say your mileage may vary because I don't know if it's as easy as we say, because let's say you're playing an interleague series where you only play them 3 games. There's really like how are you gonna change the schedule? Like who are you gonna play on Friday and then you have a doubleheader on Saturday. Like the A's, are the A's going to play, a doubleheader against the Pirates? I mean, I don't know if they play each other this year, but like, let's say they do.
Yeah.
Are they gonna the A's gonna play a doubleheader against the Pirates because they're scheduled in for a weekend? What does that get them? They were gonna play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they have three other games back in Pittsburgh. So
They should have kept the regional thing that we had going, which frankly I loved. I thought that was great, even though it was hard for the East teams because they were both divisions were generally pretty good. But that would help solve sort of that problem. Unfortunately, they're going back to the regular schedule at this point, where you're going all over the place. That's a good point. I mean, that would be a tough one to. It's tough to try and sync those up, particularly if you're going all the way.
you couldn't automatically make it Saturdays, I think is the point. You could
That's
make it
fair.
Saturdays anytime there's, a division rivals, you could do it. I mean,
Yeah,
basically every series that a team has against a division rival would have to include a doubleheader, right?
yeah,
Like that would be one way you could do it. You play each other 19 times within the division. You knock that down a little bit. You don't mess with the days off then, right? Like they're
yeah. So if you do it 19 times instead of it being, let's say, 6 series, you're doing 19 and 5 series.
so you still have to make up a couple more there somewhere, right?
What that would be
Probably.
20. Yeah,
So you
somewhere in there.
you probably still have a
If
couple
it
extra
was
games
six
left
times,
over.
you had a 4 game and you have three, and the rest are 3 games.
I mean, I guess there's a way that you could probably just look at, like, we could just take any team's schedule, right? Like let's just pick a random,
Yeah, but
uh like a team that we just,
I think we might have to do a little work on it. Maybe we should bring this back for the next episode of Diamond Die Hard so we
well,
can
we
tweak
could
it up.
maybe we could scratch the surface. Just
All
pick
right.
a
Do it.
pick.
Do a test case on the Yankees.
No,
See
no,
what
no,
it's
no, no.
like.
We're not picking any of the main teams. Let's just pick a
Okay.
different team. So if you're a fan
All
of
right.
a different one of these different teams, then it's your team. How
Okay.
about how about the D-backs?
That'd be great
Okay. So I'm picking the D-backs here. Let's
for
see.
Cousin Boomer.
Well, yeah, that's actually right. That kind of stinks. All right. So I click on their thing, and their schedule does not show up immediately. There are no games scheduled for December. Okay, so I don't want December.
It's true.
What about Arizona Fall League games? March. Okay. April. Okay.
How many games?
So, well, let's just take it. Let's just take it sort of one by one.
Okay.
They start out with 4 games, the Diamondbacks do, in San Diego.
Okay. We can take care of that.
So that means, would they have to play 4 doubleheaders against the Padres at some point to make those games up? Because
Yes.
now they're okay. So they have to play 4 doubleheaders against the Padres.
Correct.
Okay. Then they play 3 at the Rockies. So they got to play 3 doubleheaders against the Rockies to make that up.
Hmm.
Then they have 3 with the Reds at home. They finally go home. If you're the Diamondbacks, you're home. You're hoping April 9th against the Reds is that you're allowed to walk into the stadium. So now you have to play a doubleheader against the Reds, right?
3 of them.
3 doubleheaders against the Reds.
Yep.
Then the A's come in for a 2-game set. You're gonna have to make that up with the next time you play the A's. And
That'd be tough.
when you're in
You have to make it a
Oakland,
4 game. Yeah.
you have to
You're gonna.
make you got to play 2. Now you don't have the A's
That's
coming
tough.
in, right?
That's a tough one, right? Because you're probably playing 2 out in Oakland.
Yeah, who
So
wants to
somehow
do
you got to
that?
make that 4. Do you do 4 out there, and then they have to flip a series back to you or something?
Yeah, and now you got
So I guess that's good stuff. Yeah.
now you got the last team to win a World Series after playing a full season of Major League Baseball, the Washington Nationals, coming in with their star catcher JT Realmuto, their
Hurtful. Hurtful.
their center fielder George Springer.
Wow.
They come in for 4 games, right? So we're at, and now wait here, now it's really gonna get messy. You ready? Because from the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd, they play the Reds
We
again.
get to that again.
So they play their six
So the
games,
schedule's already screwy.
right? So you can't play double headers because now those games don't exist. and then you have the Braves, and then you play the Padres at home for two, and the Rockies at home for two. So now you can't even reverse doubleheader those, right? So
I mean, it feels like the division ones you could work around. The interleague is the tricky part. I still sort of think you could probably find a way to
but now you're
make
taking
those
your
up.
you're taking 9 inning division games and making them 7 inning division games.
So
Well, I mean that's you're lowering lessening the
you're putting
importance of them,
20,000
right?
more people in the stands.
Yeah, I mean that's a good
So
point.
that's
Yeah,
for your 2 innings.
it's a
Yeah,
good point.
I could probably deal with that. So
What are we doing this weekend, Dad? Well, we're getting our fill of the Rockies and the Padres. That's what we're doing.
you can't handle this.
You don't want enough baseball from these two teams. That's what we can tell you. Yeah, so maybe a little bit more there than meets the eye. I mean, the schedule makers.
Isn't it
Look,
kind of interesting? We haven't talked. Actually, you haven't seen. We're the only guys actually talking about this,
but
right? Nobody's talked about like, will the season start on time? Will this or that? Like, everyone's just kind of whistling past on that one, right?
well,
Like,
look,
I haven't heard anybody say like, oh, we might not pay 162, and like we're going to do this, and they're going to have no fans in the stands, and you would think at the owners' meetings, right? You would think people would be talking about this.
they got to be
Hide nor
talking
hair.
about it, even if we're
Yeah,
not.
hide
Even
nor
if we're,
hair, right? Nobody's rumored anything. I mean, we haven't heard one of pushing back the start date or anything else like that.
it's look. I mean, that's we've been on top of stuff, like haven't we?
There you go.
We were
There you
talking
go.
about a lot of stuff before other people were talking about it.
That's true.
Either
Heard
that,
it
or
here
we're just
first.
not watching everybody else. But
Nah, no, we haven't seen
you know,
that. We weren't following
be
enough. Well, that's what we
because
did.
because we don't care. You
Oh, the
retreated the hill. By the way, the MLB season opener is Blue Jays at Yankees at 105 on
April
April
Fools.
1st. And then
Nice.
Twins at Brewers 210 Eastern, Braves at Phillies 305 Eastern, Dodgers at Rockies 210 local. There, I switch it to local. Rays Marlins open up with each other 410 in Miami Eastern, and all the other times are TBD. So well,
All
I
right,
guess somebody
and
could
the
bump up
season's
their
over.
I guess somebody could bump up their start time. So there's a bunch. All the rest of the games are TBD for
I think wasn't the
their start time.
there was something that I thought the first Met game was supposed to be on ESPN with A-Rod. Oh boy.
Oopsie.
Oh boy. Hey, welcome to the booth, Steve Cohen. Hey, congratulations on beating me out.
I would just like to congratulate Steve Cohen. You did a great job with your ownership group. Um,
It's too bad we didn't have a Latina owner. Oh, actually, can I introduce you to my wife, who's an actual Met fan and owner of the team? Hey, J-Lo. Getting on the block. Take that back to the Bronx.
it is Mets at Nationals on slated for April 1st. And then the April 2nd schedule is truncated to build in for foul weather. Who knows? I mean, who knows what's going to happen at this point? You know, okay, so
Blizzard.
right now, here I'll give you a little perspective, Dog. I'll give you a little perspective, and then I'll harken back to some of the stuff that you and I had talked about in previous shows, and give people like an idea of the time and when it happened and when it was being said. Um, so right now, you're making a great choice, by the way, if you're watching us live, because the only thing you're missing is the Dallas Cowboys against the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, it's a Tuesday night, and they're playing that game because of COVID issues that affected the Ravens that pushed their game back last week against the Steelers all the way, past the. It was supposed to be on Thanksgiving. They played it the ensuing Wednesday, so they pushed the game back 6 days. Then the team, asked, I guess, for more rest, and they were going to play it Monday, and then they end up playing it Tuesday, so they get a little bit more rest there. They play consecutively here, on a short week, counting next week, but that game, once it's complete, Dog, will mark 75% of the NFL season complete without a postponement or cancellation that has moved the schedule off of week 17. That's the caveat. They've moved some games
Yep.
around. There were certain games that weren't played in certain weeks, but they're
Yep.
still playing all of the games scheduled, as far as we know, in the 17 weeks for 16 games allotment.
Yeah.
And
Remarkable.
and as this thing was happening, especially around Thanksgiving, I cannot tell you. You're on Twitter, you're on TV, you're watching where all you see is the NFL is out of their mind. There's no way they're playing these games. There's no way. There's no way this season is being played. They're never going to get through it. COVID's exploding everywhere. There's no
Three
way they're
times
going
as
to
many
get through it.
people. Yep.
All this other stuff. Guess what? The same thing. We had the same conversation about baseball. We addressed it on the show in the late July, early August times when they were starting to play. There were guys that were getting it here and there. The Marlins were getting it, the Cardinals were getting it, and everybody's like, "That's it. These idiots in baseball, they thought they could do it. You got to play it in a bubble. You got to do this. You got to do it. They're never going to be able to do it. They're never going to be able to do it." Smart people saying this over and over again.
Yep.
And you know what? They're playing. They're playing. And are people getting it? Yes. But are they getting it at a higher rate than the rest of the population? No, not that I can see. I don't know for a fact. But I mean, what the hell is a
Seems
fact?
less.
What the hell is a fact these days? Um, so they're playing it, and they're gonna continue playing. So what does baseball do? Well, can they take now? Somebody immediately would say, "Well, look at college football. The Michigan Ohio State game, which is the staple of college football, is not going to be played." And how could that be? That makes it. It's not a college football season. It's bullshit. And if Ohio State doesn't play more than 5 games, they're not eligible for the Big Ten title. And of course, like in a backroom deal somewhere, they're going to magically be eligible. So don't worry about it, Buckeyes fans. You'll be there, and you'll be in the Final Four. Don't worry about it. But
Especially after Michigan tanked it on purpose.
yeah, but there's a difference between professional leagues where the owners have a vested interest in each other as opposed to colleges which don't have necessarily the same vested interest in each other, and everybody thinks they're smarter than the other person anyway because they're the intellectuals want to rule the way they want to rule. But when it comes to money and dollars, we saw in baseball that the players wanted to play more games, and the overwhelming majority of them were not concerned about COVID being an issue to them in lieu of being able to play more games and put more money in their pockets. And that's fine. It's their right. I mean, if you're good enough to play Major League Baseball or any professional sport and earn that kind of money, you have this long to do it in your life. So go make the money. Like don't ever begrudge somebody for taking the money. The taking the money is very rarely been a bad decision. It might not result in you getting championships. It might not result in you getting into the Hall of Fame when you might have taken another thing. But you know what? The money's the money's a pretty good fallback. If like if you
Take care of your life, the rest of your life, and your kids.
yeah,
So
and maybe
that's
their
not bad.
kids. So baseball's going to play, dog. It's just a matter of are they gonna? I mean, dog say they push it out to April 15th. Say Jackie Robinson Day becomes opening day. That's a little less of an issue, right? Trying to
Yep.
reschedule some of these games, right? Maybe I don't know,
Yeah.
but again, I think that you would have to. I think you'd have to mess with the schedule. I don't think you could just take the canceled, so to speak, games, postpone them, and then play double headers because it's just not. It's not. They're not one for one. They're series, and um, you don't want to steal the days off from the players. That's just simply not fair. Plus, it's not collectively bargained. They'd have to agree to something special for that, and the players are just not going to do it, and they shouldn't. I don't think they should, and I don't even think the owners want to ask for that. So, maybe look, you push it back even a couple of weeks, you might have a better chance. And the
Yep.
other thing is, you don't know at this point who's going to have fans. if anybody's going to have fans. You don't know if your Canadian team is going to be able to play in Canada. You don't know if the American teams are going to be able to go to Canada to play them, even if they're theoretically allowed to. Oh, you can have games. You just can't have anybody in from the United States. Okay.
They,
So we're
they
going to,
just have to quarantine for 2 weeks afterwards.
yeah.
So,
The
let's keep
Blue,
playing.
the Blue Jays play their 162nd inter squad game today. So that's that logistical point has to be figured out. But somehow, some way, these games are going to be played. Is it going to be 162? I don't know. Maybe you find a way to go down to 154, and that becomes a compromise.
Hmm.
Um, maybe you do that and have some of those 7 inning doubleheaders in there. Look, whatever it is, we saw in 2020 with the truncated season that ownership and the players union will figure out some agreement to do it, and that they want to play, and one's going to make sure the other doesn't get over on them, and then the guys in the middle, like the GMs and the managers and the front office staff, are going to be left to figure it out. The Ray Montgomerys of the world are going to be left to figure it out, and the Mike Pumas of the world, of the New York Post, are going to help us sort these things out as we go through. So
Yeah,
I don't know. Is that enough? Is that enough for tonight, Doug?
I think so. Might be time to walk the dog, the
Yeah.
diamond dog.
I feel like you're liking the earlier start here.
Alexa's talking to me now. I said diamond. I said diamond dog. It also looks like talking to me. Stop talking, Alexa. Oh Jesus, this is horrifying. I just put the stupid dot in. I knew it was a disaster.
meaning meaning right now everybody else's Alexa is going off. Alexa, play Diamond Diehards podcast.
Siri.
Hey Siri, play Diamond Diehards
So
podcast.
the South Park thing.
Yeah.
Hey Google. All right, there we go.
All right, doggy. So let's see. What, do
So
we, what,
Veterans Day, General Chuck Yeager. So
very important gentleman
great stuff.
to our
Great movie.
to our
Great movie.
American heritage.
Redoing it
Let's
on Disney. It's all right. Original better. Sam Shepard.
different day.
Different day. Different time.
Same
Different
shepherd,
folks.
same shepherd, different day. So we want you to follow us. You can follow us if you're on the Facebook group. We love that. Facebook.com/Diamond Diehards. That's actually the Facebook page. There's also a Facebook group. You could check us out there. And Uncle Paul thrives in our community there, and he's always posting stuff on the page as well to keep you engaged. Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. It's Diamond Diehards there. YouTube. It is, you got to search us out a little bit. Did I miss any of those? We're on LinkedIn. Become
LinkedIn.
become a LinkedIn
Spotify, right? We're on
pal for
Spotify,
us.
right?
Well, yeah, I was doing the video stuff. The video should be up on LinkedIn. Hopefully, we're waiting. There's pending some kind of approval to get the live streams up on LinkedIn. So geez, you're in this.
I will say you put Diamond Diehards on, and mysteriously, like a couple days ago, like my CEO of my company, like looked at my profile on LinkedIn. So I can
Eh,
only assume he's a Diamond Diehards fan.
baseball's a powerful
At least I
tool.
hope so.
Ba-
What
Baseball's a
is this
power.
guy doing at home?
He's like, wait, does this guy know Steve Cohen?
You know, that's a good point. I've chatted with Alexa. I'm this close.
Yeah. Does Salmon Jacket guy with the Steve Cohen meme in the background know Steve Cohen? No, so far none of us do, but he is. We will get him on the show at some point.
Soon to be fan of the show.
Yeah,
Stevie would do it.
he knows. He just doesn't. I mean, he only has his own
Lost
network.
a couple pounds. He's feeling pretty good right now.
He only has his own network. He needs us. Well, we'll probably be at SNY at some point. We're
Martino,
practically a
really?
friggin' Mets show
Martino?
anyway.
Martino, come on.
Do it.
Anthony Recker's on. Anthony Recker's on over us. Come on.
He's pretty good.
Anthony Recker.
He's
Yeah,
pretty.
he's not bad
He's
actually.
actually.
He's a good
He's
looking
actually.
dude.
Yeah.
He's a good looking guy.
You you
Fair enough, good looking guy.
you'd trade for Anthony Recker. So okay, so those are the
How's his arm these days? We may need Anthony Rickerback.
so those are the places that you could follow us and watch us. Like you're gonna see live streams, and the live streams are always then there for you to watch it at any given time. And if you want to pull an Uncle Paul, which means you were on this live stream for a while, or you're just you know you want to do your power walk or something like that, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere you find your podcast, that's where you go. If you're a little late and you haven't done your holiday cards, FMS Graphics, they want to remind you it's the perfect time to order them. Why not take a few minutes to visit them at fmsgraphics.com? Ordering is easy and you'll receive your order in a few days. fmsgraphics.com is the place to visit for all of your printing and promotional product needs. And if you're checking this out after the holidays or on Christmas Eve or the last day of Hanukkah or something like that, then fear not. Go check in.
There's no more holidays.
No,
Valentine's Day.
there's
Get
always
ahead
going
of
to
the
be a
game for once.
there's
You
always going to be
slacker.
a always going to be a reason why you need promotional printing and stuff like that. So
Aren't you?
especially with as we move into the next realm after we snuff this COVID thing once and for all. So that is going to do it for the dog, Jeff Healy. This is Joe Rizzo. Thanks for listening to Diamond Diehards. Stay tuned for the next episodes as we hopefully have more to talk about instead of just when will the Mets make the first move. Until then, keep running those bases. Diamond Diehards is out.